All right, so the last time I had the opportunity to speak here, I talked about the power of your words, the power of your beliefs. This is kind of in the same area of thought, but we're going to be talking about how your words, beliefs, energy, your emotions, everything contributes to what you experience as reality. So this is creating your reality. Now, I'm going to ask you to join me on this adventure because I'm not standing up here as someone who knows a bunch of stuff. Okay, I'm not standing up here as an expert in quantum physics, quantum mechanics, or anything like that. I'm standing before you as an explorer myself, as someone who likes to ask questions, someone who likes to explore the depths of my own consciousness and do my best to help other people do the same thing. And so, 3 things I want you to think about during this presentation. One is the more I think I know, the more I find I don't. And I know that's not the exact quote by Albert Einstein, but it's very close. And that's one of the favorite things that I like to say, because the more I think I know, the more I find I don't. And if I ever get into a place where I think I know everything, I've created an illusion, and I'm fooling myself, because there's just no way. So, consider that throughout this presentation. The next is suspend disbelief, open the heart, and silence the mind. So suspending disbelief, what does that mean? So that means to be aware of every time that we talk about a specific topic or I say something that sounds kind of just, what? Out there crazy, right? Like, give yourself a moment just to notice that and think, why do I find it so hard to believe that this is possible? Open your heart. That just means be open. Be open to the energy of the people around you. Be open to what I have to say. Be open to what you may experience throughout the day after this presentation. And silence the mind. Doesn't really work. You can't like silence it. It doesn't just shut up, right? It's always there. Da, 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 da. But the more you become aware of it, the more you're able to like filter what you want, what applies, and what doesn't. And then lastly, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. There's a bunch of different ways to say that, but that's basically like the, if I could sum up today's entire presentation with one line, that's it, you know? And we're taught throughout our lives that so many things are impossible. Like, how many of you have been told that magic isn't real? Or that, you know, it's impossible to hear somebody else say something without them actually saying something? Well, I don't think those things are impossible. I used to, though. So, we're going to start with my understanding of quantum physics / mechanics. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not out there like studying this stuff every day, but I am an explorer. I am somebody who has read a lot and explored a lot into these topics, not to mention the experience that I have in my own life that gives me such conviction to be able to be up here talking to you without feeling like I'm a crazy person in a room full of people that are like, what? You know? So, the funny thing about quantum physics is if you think you understand quantum physics, you don't understand quantum physics. And that's just how it is. It's so incomprehensible that like the minute you're like, oh, I think I got this, then you encounter something else and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm talking about or what I'm doing. So, the basic theoretical understandings that I have of quantum physics are, the first is that there are infinite versions of each of us. Now, infinite, does anyone have any comprehension as to what infinite is? It's just never ending, no beginning, no end, just infinite. Trillions, billions, whatever, none of those numbers even matter in terms of infinite. So if you think that there are infinite versions of each one of us, that means there's a version of me that's not up here speaking right now. There's a version of me that's still 5 years old. There's a version of me that's 96 years old. There's a version of me that died when I was 3. But they're all possibilities. Every version of yourself is a possibility. It's a possible reality in which you could exist. So, then time, you know, we're very familiar with time. A lot of us actually spend a lot of time in the past or in the future instead of being right here in the moment, in the present, right? But time is only relevant in three-dimensional reality. In this physical world that we live in, that's the only place where time matters. And that's because the three dimensions of that reality are past, present, and future. So if you're thinking on the infinite versions of you scale, the reason why all of those versions can exist all at the same time is because there is no time. It's just what is. Now, that in and of itself is like incomprehensible to me, but I'm trying my best. I'm trying because my mind's open, my heart is open. So all versions of each one of us exist in wave frequency, in waveform. So that's like the radio waves. You know, your cell phone, everyone's cell phone in here has waves, radio waves, floating through the air, going all around you, connecting your cell phone to the tower, and all of the versions of ourselves are also in waveform until they're observed, and then they become physical. So the version of you that is right now listening and watching me, this is the version of you that you've created. This is the version of you that most matches your beliefs, your thoughts, your words, but you can change that. So we shift through these infinite versions of ourselves at another incomprehensible rate of billions of times per second. So just in right now, 1 second, you've shifted 1 billion times through all of the possible versions of yourself. I keep wanting to say, does that make sense? But it doesn't, right? Like, it's very hard to understand that. But so, if you can imagine it, it already exists in waveform. So any way that you can imagine yourself existing already does exist. But if you don't believe that you can be that version of yourself, that is what prevents you from being that version. But if you can imagine it, it can be you. And the last understanding is that you are a vibrational being. Does anyone not know what an electron is? An electron is, from my understanding, the smallest thing that we can observe currently, or maybe currently 50 years ago, I don't know. But electron, there's like, you're made of trillions of atoms, and the electron is a part of the atom. And in between the electrons, in between the things that are holding those atoms together, there's nothing. There's nothing but vibration. And so when I say you're a vibrational being, I'm saying that everything that makes up this physical being is all vibrating really, really fast. And that vibrational frequency can go up and down, just like anything else that vibrates. Anyone ever heard a sound bowl being played? The crystal bowls? Ding! And you rub them, they start vibrating louder and louder and louder, and you can hear that all around you. Your body does the same thing. And one of the best things about sound bowls is if you allow your body to match that frequency, match that vibration, then you're kind of brought into this state of like, peace, wonderfulness. So you're a vibrational being capable of shifting your frequency to reflect your desire and become the version of yourself experiencing the presence of said reflection. That's a mouthful. But I'm hoping that by the end of this presentation, you kind of understand. And also, please, yeah, I know, right? Please understand that one of the other parts of what I'm doing here is trying to plant seeds. If I can plant a little seed of curiosity in each one of you, then you might be able to open your mind, and you'd be amazed what kind of things God, the universe, source, will bring to you when your mind is ready and fertile for that information. One of the leading people in this, I guess, area of expertise is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, from what I understand, started out as a chiropractor, and he was in a triathlon, and he had a bicycle crash and broke his back. And the doctors told him that he would never be able to walk again. And that there was like a 10% chance that if they did surgery, he would. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then according to him, within 12 weeks, he was walking again. He didn't have surgery. He didn't go to the doctors. He decided he was going to try something else. And he had that curiosity. That seed had been planted, and he sought after it. He chased it. And so he went from having a broken back to teaching massive groups to heal themselves through meditation. We're talking all over the world right now, and it blows my mind that this isn't being talked about more. All over the world right now, Dr. Joe Dispenza is hosting groups of like 6,000 people, teaching them to meditate, and people are getting out of wheelchairs, curing themselves of cancer, curing themselves of diabetes. One lady even had her thyroid removed, and 6 months later, her thyroid was back. And the doctors were like, what? I swear I removed your thyroid. And she's like, yeah, well, I meditate, so what's up? So this is a quote by Joe Dispenza, but he says, we're addicted to our beliefs. We're addicted to the emotions of our past. We see our beliefs as truths, not ideas that we can change. And many of these things are having a negative impact on our health and happiness. When you turn on the TV and you watch the news and all you hear is all the negativity, all the sickness, all the just garbage that is supposedly happening in our world, that is creating belief in you. If I don't know how many of you have ever been to like a cancer center, but it is so heavy there because it's like this just feeling of despair, and that's all based in belief. It's the belief that a cancer diagnosis is a death sentence, or that these things are completely out of our control. And from what I'm finding and what I believe is they're not. All of it is within our control. And if we learn to open our hearts and silence our minds and put this to practice, anything becomes possible. So the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, the first thing that I fell in love with the dude was because of his perception and research into the placebo effect. Now, if you don't know what the placebo effect is, cancer seems to be an example I'm using frequently, so we'll use that. But if I was diagnosed with cancer and they gave me a pill and told me this pill would cure my cancer, if I believed that it would, it would. That's the placebo effect. That's the power of your mind to create the reality that you believe it will. And that pill could have nothing in it. That pill could be a sugar pill. And so that goes back to showing us how absolutely powerful and important our intention is. What are we doing? Everything you do throughout the day, what is your intention behind it? If you become aware of that, things start to change. He also studied epigenetics. 100 years ago, we thought genetically we were predisposed to whatever our parents and grandparents had. Matter of fact, when I was 19, I was diagnosed with hypertension and told I'd be on blood pressure medications for the rest of my life. As of 4 years now, I've not been on any blood pressure medication. My blood pressure is regulated, and it's because I practiced what Dr. Joe Dispenza taught and healed myself of hypertension. So epigenetics is the idea or the study of one's ability to change their genetic code so that we're not predisposed to genetic conditions. And he's proven that it's possible. Meditation is the way that he uses to help teach this, to help people learn how to do this. But it can be done in many different ways. It can be done in whatever way you believe it can be done. That's the beauty of this. And then he's got a lot of clinical research. He's got a documentary that he just released called Source. It's Within You. And it's about 2 hours long, and it details all of the clinical research. He's had doctors and all kinds of different, professionals at his meditation retreats studying people. And he found there was one where they infected this guy's blood with COVID. Well, first they drew blood before meditation and after meditation. Then they infected both samples with COVID. The one before meditation, COVID penetrated the cells and infected the sample. And the one after meditation, COVID attached to the cell, but it didn't penetrate. And so that in and of itself points to the power of meditation. But again, what are you doing in meditation? You're using your intention to create something different. And if we go back to quantum physics, the model there, you're using that intention to shift yourself to the version of yourself that no longer has cancer. Does that make sense? Kinda? Okay, cool. Well, I see some heads, and then I see some like, and that's how I am, like all the time. Every time I'm reading. You can do this? Okay, so he has 3 books. You Are the Placebo, Breaking, I think he has more than 3, but these are the 3 main ones. You Are the Placebo, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and Becoming Supernatural. I would love to be supernatural, but I already am, actually. So this one, now when I said suspend disbelief, this is kind of what I'm talking about, okay? Because Esther Hicks, otherwise known as Abraham Hicks, when I first heard about her, somebody told me about her, sent me a video, and I was listening to the video and she's talking, okay, and then I told Esther this, and Abraham said this, and Jerry said this, and I'm just like, who are all these people she's talking about? Well, her actual name is Esther Hicks, but she also goes by Abraham Hicks because she claims that she channels an entity or a spirit, an alien, who knows. But she channels something else that speaks through her, right? And at first, I grew up in Christianity, guys. I was like, oh my gosh, this lady's possessed. And she's, like openly being possessed and talking about it. But then I started listening, and the things that she's saying were absolutely beautiful and helpful and applied in helping me come out of the hole that I had dug myself in. And so I was like, okay, there is no way that this lady, if she's possessed by a demon, that she's saying what she's saying, because it's helpful. It's so helpful, and it falls in line with my own beliefs about God and what she's saying and stuff like that. So that's when I had to suspend disbelief and actually give it some credit and listen to what she had to say. And it has been a game changer for me. There's another one named Bashar, and the guy's name is Daryl Anka. He channels an entity called Bashar, and this is supposedly a non-physical extraterrestrial entity that observes humankind and wants to help us. And again, when I'm first listening to this, I'm like, what? Come on. Like this guy's got to be acting, But the more I listen to it, I'm like, wow, this is extremely helpful. We all have that internal intuition, right? In Christianity, we called it conviction, and the conviction of the Holy Spirit. And that's like that feeling inside you that something is either bad or good. Something is helpful or not. I've learned to listen to that more than anything else. And when I listen to Esther Hicks, I just feel that inner peace. I know that this is something that has been sent here, if you want to call it that, to help us. And so, suspend disbelief. She channels the universal consciousness and spirituality behind creation. So it's like, in my head, Joe Dispenza is the science behind what I'm trying to convey to you today, and Esther Hicks is the spirituality behind it. But for the first time in my existence, spirituality and science complement each other instead of being enemies. It's like the biggest argument I've ever heard, I think, is the Big Bang or creation. Why not both? What if God was like, okay, I'm going to create the universe, and bang! Here we go, right? Suspend disbelief. So, methods of creation according to Esther Hicks: bringing yourself into a vibrational match with what you desire. Again, remember, we're vibrational beings, right? And let's say, okay, I want to be happy. Well, happiness is a higher frequency than shame and sadness. And so in order to feel happiness and shift yourself into the version of yourself that's happy, you have to raise that vibrational frequency within you. And we'll get to the how too here in a little while, but there's a bunch of different ways. So it's kind of like tuning your frequency, like you're a radio receiver, right? And you're like, you know what? I don't really like country music. I want to listen to some metal. And you tune your frequency in to a metal channel, and you feel good because you're listening to the music you want to now. Having zero insistence on a specific outcome. This is one that Bashar talks about a lot, actually. And see, the thing is if we want something, we also tend to want to define the exact way in which it comes to us. And so it's like, I want to be happy, but I'm only going to be happy if I have this new truck. I'm only going to be happy if I get this other job. I'm only going to be happy if this, and this, and this, and this. That's a specific outcome. If you just say, I want to be happy, and then you surrender and allow God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it, to deliver that happiness, there you go. But if you say it has to be this way, you're shutting all the other doors that could be used to allow you to get there. Follow your passion in every moment and follow it until you can follow it no more. That one's a hard one. How many of us are working in careers or jobs where we feel like we're stuck? We have to do what we're doing so that we can pay the bills. And we're, I can't say that I had it real rough because I went from Marine Corps to law enforcement to education, and now I'm a licensed professional counselor. And now I'm exactly where I want to be, and I'm following my passion, and everything works out great, and it's all wonderful. But there was several years, especially as a police officer and as an educator, that I did not like what I was doing. And so my vibrational frequency was pretty low all the time because I'd get out of bed first thing in the morning and be like, how am I going to make it through this day? Like, I don't want to do this. You think that's following your passion? No. But see, following your passion takes risk. You have to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to follow and chase after whatever it is that I want without any concern over what may happen if I do. Because that's the belief. If I quit my job and I chase my passion, I'm going to fail. The fear of poverty kicks in. The fear of failure kicks in. And you're defeated before you even get a chance, right? But I know several inspirational stories of people who were like, screw that. I'm not doing this crap anymore. I'm going to go. And they did it. And I'm one of them. Like, I remember the day I turned in my resignation to the school and started my counseling coaching practice. I didn't have any clients yet. I was scared to death. I had like plenty of bills to pay, had a mortgage, all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And, there was some times during that process where I was coaching and counseling people, but I was also painting houses and building things and mowing lawns or doing whatever the heck I had to do so I could continue following my passion, but also making ends meet. And that built confidence in me, right? And confidence, man, let me tell you, that internal vibrational frequency, you start feeling confident and it goes through the roof. It goes through the roof. And you start to change that belief of, I got to do this forever because this is just where I'm stuck at, to I can do anything I want to. And you can, I promise you. So essentially you're going to tune into the frequency of the reality you desire. But you are the only person that knows what that is. But if you can, in your mind, 10 to 15 minutes before you go to bed at night, or as you're in bed, start to imagine the person that you want to be in your head. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What is around me? You can actually have conversations with people in that reality in your head to make it feel as though you're already there. And that's just the beginning of it. And the more you do that, the more you start to feel this is possible, this is possible, this is possible. And then you start seeing things change around you and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually doing this. Like, I promise you guys, it's possible. But you got to give it a try. You got to suspend disbelief. Heart and mind coherence. This is the biggest thing that Joe Dispenza talks about. He says this is what you have to have in order to heal your body. Heart and mind coherence is when your mind and your heart are connected in a state of unity. A state of unity between your body, your mind, and your spirit. Now, here's the part I don't like talking about, but I have to because we gotta be aware of it. We gotta see it. There is a such thing as negative heart and mind coherence. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of us experience day to day. Because if you're afraid of snakes, and the minute you think of a snake, what happens in your body? You start feeling anxiety. That fear comes up. You start sweating a little bit. Your heart rate increases. That's heart and mind coherence, guys. But it's heart and mind coherence that's attracting and bringing you into the version of yourself that gets bit by a snake or sees a snake. How many times do we hear people saying, yeah, nothing ever goes my way. I'm always broke. And then the minute they say that, their thought is, I'm always broke. Nothing ever goes my way. And what do you think their body does? That feeling of despair. You think about your job, if you don't like it, you're miserable there. That feeling of despair, that feeling of stuckness, That's heart and mind coherence. But what is it creating? What version of you is it taking you to? The same one over and over and over and over and over again. Nothing happens until we become aware of this. Awareness is the key to any lasting change. And so the next time that you have a thought about the job you don't like, you're like, oh, whoa, you know what? That's not the thought I want to have. That's not what I want for myself. And once you're aware of that thought, you can try to begin to replace it with what you do want. And try to let your body match the emotional energy of that. So, okay, that's enough on the negative part. Positive heart and mind coherence. Questions to ask yourself. Do my thoughts reflect my desire? Do my beliefs create positive feelings? Are my words creating what I want, and am I aware of my emotional body? At the very end of this, I'm gonna, if y'all are open to it, I'm gonna take you through just a little quick segment of kind of how to do this within yourself. And again, suspend disbelief, open your heart, silence your mind. Do my thoughts reflect my desires? Is that what I want? That's the question that I ask myself all the time. In therapy, when I'm working with a client, a lot of my job is just listening. And as, they're talking, they'll be saying, like, again, nothing ever goes my way. And is that what you want? What? Is that what do you mean? You just said nothing ever goes your way. Is that what you want? And they're like, well, no. Okay, then why do you keep saying it? Let's begin to correct that. Do my thoughts reflect my desires? Do my beliefs create positive feelings? Oh man, this one's huge. I remember, 34 years of my life, when I would think about God, I felt terrible. I felt shameful. I felt disgusted with myself, unlovable, unworthy. And it's not anyone else's fault. I can't blame anyone else for that. It was the belief, the construct that I had created in my mind of who God is. And that belief did not create positive feelings in me. And so it was when I was able to separate myself from the God of my childhood to find God for myself, that I was able to begin to feel positive feelings when I thought about the universal consciousness, God, source, whatever we want to call it. Are my words creating what I want? This goes back to it. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? And if you're married, if you're in a relationship, this is a great thing for you and your spouse. If they're okay with it, okay? Because the last thing I'm trying to do is cause fights, okay? If you have a conversation with your spouse and you say, hey, I really want to start thinking more in terms of what I'm passionate about and what I love for myself. And so I would appreciate it if when I say something negative, if you bring it to my attention so I can become aware of that. That's a good agreement to have. And it's not a ha 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 gotcha. It's let's grow together. Am I aware of my emotional body? Here in a little while, when we do guided meditation, the first part of it, I have you connect with each part of your body. That is being aware of your emotional body. It's called embodiment. Okay, and an embodiment practice is when you become aware of the sensations that you're feeling throughout your body. A lot of people in America are going around completely disconnected from their body, dissociated, having no idea what their emotions are, what they're feeling them, or what they are feeling. And because the minute they start feeling something, they turn to a substance, they run away from the feeling, they distract themselves, something. That dissociation from your body needs to, start to dwindle away, and you need to become aware of how you're feeling. So, this is the how, okay? Awareness, I said this a second ago, awareness is the key to any lasting change. So once you become aware of your thoughts, how your body's feeling, what it is that you want, man, that's huge. 99% of my clients, and I'm not going to say that because that's not what I'm creating here, but in my past experience with clients, when I say, what is your purpose? They have no idea, no clue, not even thought about it. It's get up, go to work, come home, go to bed. Get up, go to work, come home, go to bed. It never occurred to them that it's important for them to know what they want. And so spend a little time today with yourself and ask yourself, what am I here for? What's my purpose? What do I want in my life? What do I want my life to be? You are not your body or your mind. You are the observer of your body and your mind. This body is just like the earth suit, right? While your consciousness, you are the consciousness that is in this earth suit, right? You're not your body, and you're not your mind. You're the observer. All right, so I want everyone to close their eyes for just a second. Close your eyes and just sit for just a second. Begin to notice the thoughts that come in and out of your head, okay? Now I want you to imagine that you are standing on the side of the road in New York City and you're watching taxis go by. And there's just hundreds of them. There's hundreds of taxis just flying by. Some are fast, some are slow, some are ugly, some are beautiful, brand new, old. All sorts of taxis just flying by. None of those taxis can take you anywhere unless you get into one of them. They're all going somewhere. They're all going to a different version of you, but none of them will take you there unless you get into them. And so now I want you to think of those taxis as your thoughts. If you are standing back and you're observing your mind, observing your thoughts, you can observe as the thoughts go by, and none of those thoughts will take you anywhere until you attach to one of them. Until you allow that thought to take you to the fear or to the bliss. Now, as you're doing that, imagine just watching the thoughts. They're no longer taxis, they're thoughts. As they come in, they come out. I want you to notice the sensations in your body as those thoughts pass. If you have a fearful thought, what happens in your body? If you have a thought of gratitude, what happens in your body? Now this is the awareness that we're looking for. You begin to become aware of your thoughts, the sensations in your body. You begin to gain control. You turn off the autopilot switch and you start intentionally creating the life that you want. And each time you have a thought and a feeling in your body, follow it up with, is that what I want? Is that what I want? All right, you can open your eyes. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope this helps. If there's any questions or anything like that, feel free to get up with me after this and we'll talk.